Well, hi. Do we have audio? Do we have audio? Do we have audio? We have audio. Yay. Okay. Probably the assholes are going to notice I changed my shirt. It's getting hot. It's getting too hot, and I've had it on for too long. I put it back on yesterday after I bathed, so I need to do my laundry. Anyway, let me get some more. I'm totally not going to waste much time on the lame ass shit that the idiots are trying to convince me are real, because it's just lame ass shit. Yes, I'm old. Yes, I'm fat. But this other stuff is just stupid. I'm good at what I do. I don't have any special talents, but I'm adequate at playing music, and I'm adequate with writing, and I'm adequate as a photographer, and I'm much more than adequate as a lapidary artist because I make money at it. It's seriously good money when I work at it. I've been I've had a number of serious setbacks in my life. I've been cleaned out twice. I had a near fatal accident in 1999 that I've never really completely recovered from. I've lived with lifelong gender dysphoria. People trying to tell me I'm a trender. It's just, why would I do that? and really, I get a lot more acceptance than rejection. My anti-fan club is just, really small fraction of my reader base, and they think they're the whole thing. And a lot of it's because my closer friends all have lives of their own, and they don't really interact much on the internet in the ways that these people would notice, like making a lot of likes or comments on my videos or anything like that. A lot of my communications with them are totally in private and not seen at all. and yeah, I'm an artist. Of course I'm a fucking attention whore. That's how I make my living. It's getting people to notice me and my shit. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm going to go through my news feed and see what's, read a few things I wrote just for proofreading. Here's a meme going around. So you want the government to stop giving poor people free stuff. Funny how you don't care about the $70 billion a year we spend on subsidizing Wall Street banks, the $38 billion in subsidies given to oil companies, the $2.1 trillion that Fortune 500 corporations are stashing abroad to avoid paying U.S. taxes, and the $153 billion a year we spend to subsidize McDonald's and Walmart's low-wage workers. It's a lot more than $2.1 trillion that they have stashed. Josh Duggar got busted, charged with receiving and possessing child sexual abuse images. Duggar allegedly downloaded child sexual abuse images online and kept material depicting sexual abuse of minors under age 12, prosecutors said. He's pleading not guilty, and his lawyer's not commenting. Now he was arrested, booked into Washington County, Arkansas jail, right after his wife announced that they were expecting their 7th child. This guy, the show was canceled in 2015 after revelations that Duggar, the eldest child, had molested 5 young girls when he was a teenager, 4 of whom were his younger sisters and 1 a family babysitter. 2 of his sisters told Fox News that his behavior was due to being a young boy in puberty and a little too curious about girls. He was he resigned as the director of Family Research Council, political arm, FRC Action. What a mess. 19 kids and counting. Yeesh. I haven't read this yet. Maybe I'll read it out loud. Let's see if it's... This is by Sydney Criminal Lawyers. Lest we forget that wars are a product of lies. That's not very long. I'll give it a read. I guess this is in honor of Anzac Day. This is from Australian. In democracies, or the pseudo-democracies that we're evolving into, wars are a result of lies. Julian Assange told anti-war protesters in London's Trafalgar Square in October 2011. The Vietnam War and the push for U.S. involvement was the result of the Gulf of Tonkin incident, a lie, the Australian journalist added. For his part in exposing the multiple lies of the American empire. When's this from? 2404. Man, this is from this week. The WikiLeaks founder is being detained in conditions akin to torture in London's Belmarsh prison under questionable legalities as Washington seeks to extradite him for prosecution over charges carrying 175 years gaol time. Along with the false flag that was Tonkin, Assange listed other conflicts facilitated by the lies of government. Bush Jr.'s weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, Bush Sr. citing an already abating famine to intervene in Somalia, and Hitler's Gleiwitz incident, which led to the invasion of Poland. As Australia collectively remembers those who died in foreign battles today, 25th April, it might be an opportune time to reflect on how these lies that propped up wars of the past went unquestioned by the majority of the time as they appeared in the press as facts. And the somber pause of Anzac Day is also an ideal moment to question the truth we're being told about our nation's worsening ties with Beijing and whether we're looking for fresh local and foreign bodies that we can mourn on this day in the future as a result of a war with China. In Trafalgar Square, Assange had also noticed the complicity of the media in disseminating the lies that governments use to enter into conflicts with foreign nations. Let us ask ourselves of the complicit media, which is the majority of the mainstream press, what is the average death count attributed to each journalist, he remarked. However, in this country, if a journalist does speak out against the edifice of war and sanctity of the Anzac, it can cost them dearly. Former SBS sports reporter Scott McIntyre learned this well when he dared to question the truth underpinning our National Day of Remembrance. In a series of tweets on 25 April 2015, McIntyre described Anzac Day as the cultification of an imperialist invasion of a foreign nation that Australia had no quarrel with. And remember the summary execution, widespread rape, and theft committed by these brave Anzacs. Then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull condemned his tweets as despicable, while SBS management sacked McIntyre. Although one could only have to pick up a World War I history book or peruse the recently released Brereton report to come to the same sort of conclusion as sports journalists did. 2 years later, media presenter Yasmin Abdelmajid suffered the same fate when she suggested in a tweet that people remember the refugees locked up on Manus and Nauru on Anzac Day. The backlash to Sudanese Australian woman cop saw her leave the country for good. War's profit. Outgoing U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower warned the U.S. public in 1961 about the increasing power of the military-industrial complex, which is comprised of the nation's Defense Department and its forces on one side, and the defense industry, those who built the weapons, on the other. This relationship sees governments purchasing weapons from private defense contractors, who in turn contribute funding to the campaigns of their associates in Parliament. And of course, the more warring a government is into, creates the need for further. The more warring a government is into, creates the need for further armaments, which in turn leads to increased profits. All this profiteering from war long preceded the time of Eisenhower, and so too did the system that sees the great majority of foot soldiers sent into battle and losing their lives being the children of those from lower socioeconomic circumstances. As Australians for War Powers Reform Vice President Dr. Alison Brynowski explained this week in our nation's case wars. In our nation's case, wars have always been fought at the behest of foreign powers. It used to be the British who led us into battle, but these days, the government blindly follows the U.S. into war. Two more sections. At its heart, Anzac Day commemorates the 1915 battle in Gallipoli on the coast of modern-day Turkey. The feudal expedition saw newly independent Australia send thousands of troops to be used as rifle fodder on behalf of the British forces. And to reinforce just how deep the lies surrounding war go in this country, the Australian War Memorial continues to refuse to acknowledge that the only battles that occurred there, which saw First Nation people engaged in the prolonged frontier wars against invading British forces. This refusal to recognize the frontier wars there and here in Canada is part of an ongoing and failing effort to erase this continent's Black history, along with the understanding of the attempted genocide underpinning colonization. Australia has been involved again and again in expeditionary wars at our allies' request ever since Vietnam, with a complete lack of success, said Dr. Brynowski. These conflicts include the 1990 Gulf War, the Iraq War earlier this century, and our nation's longest war, which was in Afghanistan. David McBride served 2 tours in Afghanistan as an official military lawyer. According to him, Australian forces were engaged in military actions that were all for show. SAS troops had no real aim or purpose other than to keep up appearance, which then led to the committing of war crimes. The lawyer went to his superiors with his concerns about how operations were being run in the Central Asian country, but as the matter was dismissed internally, he then went to the press with the revelations that became the controversial ABC report, The Afghan Files. On Thursday, the Morrison government announced it was using new powers to abolish a 1819 trade agreement that the Victorian state government had made with Beijing in relation to its Belt and Road Initiative. Needless to say, the Chinese Communist Party weren't too happy about it. The move by Canberra comes on the back of rising tensions between this country and its biggest trading power, Beijing. Beijing has unleashed trade sanctions and detained an Australian journalist, while Morrison has raised concerns over a supposed mass cyber attack by a state-based actor. Washington has refused to say whether it's behind the Australian pullout, but it says it stands by Canberra's decision. Veteran Australian journalist John Pilger has long been warning that the U.S. has slowly been encircling China with a huge buildup of military bases. And in relation to the U.S. operation, Pilger said in 2017 that Australia is sleepwalking into a confrontation with China. McBride told Sydney criminal lawyers last week that he believes the long-term legacy of Assange can be summed up in a line from his 2011 Trafalgar Square speech when he said, "If wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth." So this Anzac Day, let's hope the truths about what's really going on between Beijing, Canberra, and Washington are exposed before it's too late. Anybody here? Anybody saying anything? Hello, Naughty Rudolph. Happy day. Thanks for coming. I'm just kind of reading through the news. See what's going on here. This is John Cleese as so beautiful. Meme of him today was if you're very, very stupid, how can you possibly realize that you're very, very stupid? You'd have to be relatively intelligent to realize how stupid you really are. This explains almost the entirety of Fox News and most trolls on the internet. They're just so stupid that they're too stupid to realize it. Number of children, I hadn't read this, see what this is about. Number of children in the Border Patrol facilities is down 84% since last month. I do believe they've been moved out to military bases, better housing facilities. Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Mr. Tommy Wasserberg, please.
That's me.
Hey, Mr. Wasserberg. My name is Kevin Lopez. Calling you from America First Mortgage. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm not a male, and I'd like you to remove my phone number from your call list, please, sir.
I do apologize for that, then, ma'am. I'll make sure to update our filing.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Where was I? It is nearly impossible to keep flies out of a house when there are 3 dogs. I mean, I'm surrounded by dogs and cats, and they all shit outside, and nobody cleans up after them. Okay, now what are they? Migrants stuck in limbo. They've opened up a string of temporary shelters to get the kids out of the detention centers at the border. And their officials are leaning on ordinary spaces
At Safe Flight Out at last, we're committed.
Convention centers in the scramble to find suitable shelter for children. While the sites are better than the jail-like Border Patrol facilities, they also have their problems. They don't have enough staff, for one thing. Huh. Oh. Sharing a post of photos around. There's a bunch of flower pictures. There's something I wrote that I wanted to read into the camera just to make sure it sounded right. Here we go. Earlier today, Debbie Jackson posted a picture of her daughter Avery getting ready for a TV interview with the caption, "So proud that she has set her boundaries, but she also refuses to sit back and let the spate of anti-trans bills hurt other kids." And I took that and shared it on my wall with a little more commentary. And the tag's "Hippie Historian Trans Wars, Protect Trans Kids and Equality Now." Even though we started the fight and established the advocacy groups, hardly anybody noticed transgender people stuck off on the end of LGBT while the gays and lesbians fought for their rights, and very few even realized that there were transgender children until the Coy Mathis ruling in 2013. Until then, trans people were some kind of mentally ill freak they only saw in pride parades, turning tricks on the street, or in drag shows and porn films, who were most often portrayed in film as sex fiends, serial killers, or tragicomic basket cases. Men in drag rarely portrayed anything but serial killers and clowns in cinema. Say what you will about Caitlyn Jenner, but her tabloid transition opened up the MSM to the rest of us and giving us a voice we never had. Then, with the Obergefell versus Hodges ruling, hate groups like the Heritage Foundation, Family Research Council, and Alliance Defending Freedom lost their cash cow in the same-sex marriage battle. So they turned their sights on transgender people using highly questionable scripture interpretations, debunked pseudoscience, obsolete biology, and paranoid delusions for their arguments. This is why I like to do this. I found a mistake. What they didn't count on was the presence of our parents in the fight, or that many of them would be from a conservative Christian background, like Debbie Jackson, who was raised in a strict Southern Baptist household. They also didn't realize that the freaky trans people they were familiar with are only the fringe of the community, and that most of us are pretty regular folks with regular careers and families who just happen to not be cisgender and heterosexual. To me, Lynn Conway's life and contributions are the epitome of the transgender experience, not any of the high-profile models or actresses. Kids like Gavin Grimm, Capri Culpepper, Kay Shapley, and Avery Jackson shouldn't have to be testifying in courts and legislatures for their basic human rights of self-determination and body autonomy. The president says he has your back, but all of us adult trans folk have your flanks, and we're winning this where it counts the most, in the hearts and minds of our neighbors. There's a mountain of legal precedent with Bostock versus Clayton County fresh on the peak that defines transgender people as a natural-born minority deserving of equal protection under the law. All of the major medical associations support the validity of same-sex attraction and gender variance as naturally occurring traits that are not at all pathological. Most of the major religious unions also have published declarations affirming the validity of transgender people in the Creator's eyes. Americans polled are strongly opposed to new discriminatory law and strongly in favor of queer equality. We've got this, siblings. The solidarity I'm seeing in the transgender community since Election Day and all this hate legislation got filed has been astounding. Few of those hate bills will pass, and the ones that do are not going to withstand the constitutional challenge. Passage of the Equality Act in Biden's first term is looking doubtful, but he is building protections for GNC people into all of his other programs. Stay strong, keep your chins up, and keep smiling. Trans is beautiful, and we're not going anywhere but forward from here. Not bad if I do say so myself for a trender. I grew up in the neighborhood. I didn't know I wasn't a girl until they told me I couldn't be one because of my penis. And like at 3 3/4 years old, it's like, well, what the hell does the thing I pee out of have to do with whether or not I can be a girl? I mean, like, you're telling me I can't be what I feel like I am. No, this isn't there's no confusion there for trans kids, especially, kids like myself who speak out like before we're 5 years old about it. Jazz Jennings insisting that she was trans from the minute she started talking. Because I'm a girl. I didn't want to get hit, so I just shut up about it. And I really one thing that I'm very much out here for the community is to stand as, you know, example of what not to do when you're young and transgender. You know, I shut up about it, and you know, there was my family. I suffered for the denial badly. I had a lot of serious behavioral health issues because of being forced into an unnatural gender role. You want me to be you want me to man up? I'm going to man up too much on most of the time. Get too hostile. Just fly off the handle. I don't like going there. Never did. First time I clocked somebody, I cried more than he did. About the second grade. But it's the doctors are the ones that put their foot down on this. It's not the parents transing their kids. It's not the parents using their kids as a political prop or any of this shit that the anti-LGBT people are saying. This is kids naturally born that way, telling their parents they're born that way, and the doctors getting in the middle of it saying that they should let the kids be themselves and wait and see whether they mature into this transgender role needing any sort of medical intervention, which is not really very common. I mean, it's very common to be what they're calling gender creative, but it's not so common to go the whole transsexual route. We don't know because so many people have been hiding, and the polls are so lacking in sampling that you know what the real numbers are. I mean, we can people who are post-operative who've had gender confirmation surgery. These people are only represent a small fraction of people that are transgender. And you know, for them and others to call everybody else transgenders and fake, that you know, after we stood up for so many years for their right to go and modify their genitals, that's just wrong. You know, no, I'm not a real woman, and I'll never be a real woman unless the ascended ancestors appear and do it. And then I doubt if I'm going to end up being a real woman because I think they're going to make me into a hermaphrodite like the humans always were until they fucked up all of those thousands of years ago. But this is just theory. You know, and based on nothing but my subjective readings of ancient scripture. That's all that is. I don't think that the civilization we're living in is a direct result of evolving from wildlife at all. I think that there are a lot of risen and fallen civilizations in between us and the apes. But that's just me. One thing I don't do is get all like obsessive about anything like that. This is just where my head's at. And I haven't really been, so that was the only thing I really wrote in the last little while of any consequence. I usually make some comment when I share news, a little comment at least. I've been sharing a lot of stuff without comment Well, because I've been busy with other things. Well, that's from yesterday, and the idiots have already cooked onto that. Yeah. Oh boy. I like to keep my reporting fair and balanced, and I'm a developmental of the roader who has friends on both sides of the bar, and sometimes one of my um, well, here's the story is about the 84% drop in the number of kids in detention. Here comes my right winger saying, "Let's hope Groper Joe is placing them in good homes, not brothels, pizza parlors, or hot dog stands. Zero faith in the criminals running the country. Same under Trump. I use repugnant and Democrat to describe the duopoly. I was pleased to refrain from doing this on my page in such a vulgar fashion, alluding to ridiculous conspiracy theories. I have a lot of friends who have parents and children who read my posts." And then someone came in and told him, "Your head is full of rot." And I said, "I don't go for that either, please. Rebut his presence with premises without the insults." And I might as well, give a tip of the hat to Roger Liebman, right there. And this is he's had a big influence on the way I engage people online. I really, I try to totally avoid insulting them. When you insult somebody, you just killed the discussion, because it's now going to become a matter of back and forth insults and defending their characters rather than discussing the topic anymore. I don't know. Not many people here, and I really haven't written anything but that lately. A few little things in groups. I've been busy with other things. Well, there's actually more people. Is anybody gonna say anything? give me a good reason to stay. Maybe I'll blow a little bit. Let's see what the horn wants to say. Let's see. We have 4 people. Let's see if this drives people away or brings people out. I'm feeling like I don't want to do this. It's getting hot in here, and I'm gonna want to turn on the fan. And it rumbles. It's getting real hot in here, and the horn's not really. I don't like what it's saying. So, to wrap up, maybe I should give a quick read to the nonsense these people are saying about me, and just laugh it off. Let them think I'm ass mad. Well, here's a Tom will never be a real woman, and this is from Sneasel. You will. You will never be a real woman. You have no womb, you have no ovaries, you have no eggs. You are a homosexual man twisted by drugs and surgery. I haven't had any surgery, and I'm not really twisted by drugs. And the hormones have had very little physical effect on me, but a huge mental effect. Into a crude mockery of nature's perfection. What the fuck do you call nature's perfection? This guy's a diaper fag that is a furry, and he's talking about nature's perfection. All the validation you get is two-faced and half-hearted. Behind your back, people mock you. Your parents are disgusted and ashamed of you. Your friends laugh at your ghoulish appearance behind closed doors. Men are totally repulsed by you. Thousands of years of evolution have allowed men to sniff out fraud with incredible efficiency. Even trannies who pass look uncanny and unnatural to a man. Your bone structure is a dead giveaway. Even if you manage to get a drunk guy home with you, he'll turn tail and bolt the second he gets a whiff of your disease-infected axe wound. You will never be happy. You wrench out a fake smile every single morning and tell yourself it's going to be okay, but deep inside, you feel the depression creeping up like a weed, ready to crush you under the unbearable weight. Eventually, it'll be too much to bear. You'll buy a rope, tie a noose, put it around your neck, and plunge into the cold abyss. Your parents will find you heartbroken but relieved that they no longer have to live with the unbearable shame and disappointment. They'll bury you with a headstone marked with your birth name, and every passerby for the rest of eternity will know a man is buried there. Your body will decay and go back to the dust, and all that will remain of your legacy is a skeleton that is unmistakably male. This is your fate. This is what you choose. There is no turning back. this is why this shit is just so fucking ridiculous. It's not worth reading. God, you bastard. Anyway, anybody here? Hi, Nerdy Jen. Happy day. Thanks for coming. I really don't even want to waste my time with this shit. Here's a Republican in denial about racism. Let's see, where'd this start? Oh, here, it started right here. The promoting of racism by the Democrats has allowed them to control black culture in America. Everybody's guilty of racism. People need to realize there's only one race with thousands of ethno-religious variants and learn to celebrate the diversity instead of allowing themselves to be divided against each other by the predator class. Tim Scott is just as guilty of it as David Duke. And here's, I don't think you understand what the term means. I don't think you know how to argue rationally. Well, at least he took, oh no, give me your definition of racism. You spew it out at everything you don't agree with. Like I said, not only do you not know how to argue rationally, but you're rude too. Racism has evolved to mean bigotry by a person toward another because of perceived differences between their genetic makeup that are actually a result of environmental factors in their ancestral lands. Racism is a big business for Democrats. They fundraise off of it, like the Republicans don't. Tim Scott is not a racist country of Democrats. That's just old Uncle Tim. Like I said, the left has to promote racism. Without it, they would not have a platform besides LBJ is right. Was right. Racism is just as Americans amplify. To claim that the GOP isn't just as racist or more than the Democrats, it's just not going on actual facts. Democrats have been practicing trickle-up poverty toward minorities for 75 years. They bake them into Democratic-controlled inner-city plantations with the crumbs they throw at them. And that's where I said, I'm not going to argue with a partisan true believer. Have a nice day. Everybody's going to be xenophobic to a certain degree. That's just human nature. Now, what this is where the golden rule comes into play. As you know, you're meeting otherness, and you have to decide whether you're going to accept that other into your space, into your life at all. and we're conditioned over the course of many hundreds of generations to hate each other based on how much melanin you got in your skin. That's just totally stupid, and it's time for people to grow past that. And I personally agree with Morgan Freeman on this. And so we need to stop talking about race in the terms that we talk about it in, because from both sides, that perpetuates the racism, that perpetuates the animosity. Have to people are people and judge them on the content of their character. That's it. That's where it's at. We're there are a lot of physical characteristics that change. That are there's a lot of variety in humans in terms of our height and build. You know how broad or narrow build we are, or flat noses and big lips and all that happy shit. Not just the skin color, has to do with the environmental conditions in our environmental conditions in their ancestral lands. Yeah, well, it's gotten real messed up in the last 40 years, and things have like really become inverted. You know, the religious right has just totally corrupted the Republican Party. And both parties are totally corrupted by Wall Street. I see a lot of promise in the 2020 election because of where the swing vote came from. That you know, indigenous and queer communities are rising up in solidarity against the machine, against the black snake, against the unsustainable technology, and we're doing it peacefully and prayerfully. And for the most part, other than some real questionable characters that created BLM and a few people that are high up in the central committee power structure, the local chapters of BLM have been making great strides toward police reform and keeping it mostly peaceful. You know, I draw the line at all the white shaming and yelling at people in cafes. That's just really bogus. And a lot of these left wingers are going and picking up. You know, they're wanting to give the right wing the spectacle that they want. They want to go and rumble with them just as bad as the right wing wants to rumble with the left. So hippies say nah. We just, you know, if you don't like it, don't look. You know, be nice to each other. There's enough for everybody. There's enough to go around for everybody if everybody pays their fair share. And that's what we need. You know, that's the biggest. To me, that's the biggest impediment to growth in America is the corporate takeover of it. You know, fuck these people and their companies and their technology and everything else. They're making us pay them to kill us. I think I'm getting a little raw in the throat and my jaw's starting to hurt. Thanks for coming and thanks for a little bit of conversation. I'm a bug out. Happy day. Bye-bye.